Good day, everyone!
I am Jerlina Marado,
Cherry and Lavelia,
Rhea May Acabo,
Aljade Gripo,
Rosemary Perez-Ares,
And we are the Glamour Group.
Today we're going to defend that Code of Kalantiaw is a hoax.
What is Code of Kalantiaw?
The Code of Kalantiaw is a mythical legal code in the epic history Maragtas. Before, it was revealed as a hoax. It was a source of pride for the people of Aklan. In fact, a historical marker was installed in the town of Bataan, Aklan in 1956.
Why should we not believe the story that has been taught as history for so many years in Filipino schools?
We should not believe the story that has been taught as history for so many years in Filipino school. It's because of the three good reasons. The first reason is the lack of historical evidence. There is simply no written or pictorial documents from the time in Philippine history. There are no documents from other countries that mention the Great Kalantiaw either. There is also no evidence that Philippine ever found such barbaric set of laws. The early Spanish accounts tell us that Filipino custom at that time allowed even the most serious lawbreakers to pay a fine or be placed into servitude for a time in cases of debt.
The second reason is the lack of evidence for a Kalantiaw legend. Many ardent admirers of Dato, who disdain all historical evidence to the contrary, claim that he has long been a part of Visayan culture and heritage. This is simply not true. The Spaniards never recorded any Filipino legend about Kalantiaw. If they were aware of such a legend, they had no reason to suppress it because those Spaniards who were sympathetic to the Filipinos could have presented the mere existence of the code as proof that their ancestors were civilized, just as many Filipinos do today, while detractors could have pointed to the maniacal Dato himself as proof of their savagery, even though his methods of torture were no more sadistic than those of the Spanish Inquisition.
The third and most important reason to reject the Kalantiaw myth is its source. If Kalantiaw was not a historical figure or legendary character, where did he come from? Many writers in this subject didn't bother to mention where they obtained their information. Some, like Digno Alba, simply created facts from thin air. The ultimate origin of Kalantiaw was traced by William Scott back to a single person who definitely lived in the 1400s. He was Jose A. Marco of Pontevedra Negros Occidental in 1913. He claimed to have discovered the Fabon documents that were mentioned in Scott's letter to Digno Alba. These documents, which contained the Code of Kalantiaw, were in fact Marco's own creation. Kalantiaw eventually became the most successful of many hoaxes in Marco's career for almost 50 years as a forger and fraud.
Was there a mistake in the Pavan manuscript?
Yes, there was. Because aside from the doubtful origin of the Code of Kalantiaw and Pavon's Leyendas, which contains it, this document themselves were both highly suspicious. The title of the code is the 17th Thesis, or Laws of the Regalos, in use in 150 since 1433, but there are actually 18 laws listed, which cover approximately 40 different offenses, and not 16 laws as reported by Artigas in 1913. And of course, the dates in the title make no sense. In the 1800s, it was still common to abbreviate dates by omitting the first one or two digits of the year but never the final digits. There are the number 150 was not a contraction of the year 1500s. It could only mean 1150, which is just as nonsensical as 150. The second chapter in part 2 of Leyendas tells about the building of Kalantiaw's fortress in 433. Improbable dates are typically of all the documents that Jose Marco claimed to have discovered. The presumed author of the Leyendas, Jose Maria Pavon, translated the Code of Kalantiaw and the 5 other pre-Hispanic documents, but he did not explain how he had calculated their dates.
What is the origin of the Code of Kalantiaw?
Kalantiaw's name first appeared in a print in July of 1913 in an article entitled Civilización Prehispana, published in Renacimiento Filipino. The article mentioned 16 laws enacted by King Kalantiaw in 1433 and a fort that he built at the Gagalangin, Negros, which was destroyed by an earthquake in year AD 435, not 1435. The article was written by the Manuel Artigas, who only a year before, and provided the footnotes to a poorly written essay by Jose Marco Rizana Historica de la Isla de Negros. More detailed about Kalantiaw emerged a year later in 1914, when Jose Marco donated 5 manuscripts to the Philippine Library and Museum. Among the documents was Las Antiguas Leyendas de la Isla de Negros, a 2-volume letter-bound work that was supposedly written by a friar Jose Maria Fabon in 1838 and 1839.
Who was Jose Maria Pavon?
Jose Maria Pabon y Araguro acknowledged many sources of information for his books, untraceable informants, unknown documents, and authors who were already deceased or not even born yet, or who, due to circumstances, could not have been written the documents that were ascribed to them. Thus, it no small coincidence that Pabon's own life story, as described in his manuscript, was equally dubious.
The second chapter in part 2 of Leyendas tells about the building of Kalantiaw's fortress in 433. Although this number is a correct abbreviation of 1433, the same year in which Kalantiaw allegedly wrote his laws. The documents that shows that date was supposedly written in the year 1137, and in spite of the fact that ancient Filipinos had no clocks or a measure of time equal to 1 hour, Kalantiaw's third law condemns a man to swim for 3 hours if he cannot afford to care for his wives, while his fifth law metes out the punishment of an 1-hour lashing. Pavon claimed that he arrived in the Philippines in 1810, but there are no records to support this. He also wrote that he had lived in the convent of his parish of Himamaylan since at least July 17, 1830.
Another reason to support that Code of Kalantiaw is a hoax is it because of Jose Maria Pavon's identity. He claimed that he arrived in the Philippines in 1810, yet there were no records to support this. He also even claimed that he was a schoolboy in 1788 in Seville, Spain. One of his supposed classmates at that time was Fray George G. de Citien, who was also mentioned in Jose Marcos Reseña Histórica as the author of a travel book about the Philippines in 1779. If we suppose that Citien was a very precocious infant in 1779, he and Pavon were no younger than 9 years of age in 1788. This would have made Pavon at least 87 years old in 1866 when he was known to be the parish priest of Cebu. It is obvious that the real Jose Maria Pavon did not write the Pavon manuscript. It is more likely that his name was simply plucked from the records of history to be used in a very ambitious but clumsy hoax. That was the end of our symposium. We hope that you have learned something today about the Code of Kalantiaw is considered as a hoax. Once again, this is Rosemary Perisares.
And I am Aldred Gripo.
I am Rhea May Acabo.
I am Cherry Ann Lavella.
I am Jordina Marado.
Good day!